Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the High School Sports Report. I'm Mike Kenichi, and I am honored today because we have one of the longtime coaches in high school football. He's been around the game for over 40 years, and it is my honor to introduce to you the Hartford Public High School football coach, Bellucci. And, Coach, I want to thank you for coming on today. It's a real honor for me.
It's a pleasure being here. This is I don't know, maybe the second or third time I've done a radio interview, so I'm really excited. Or podcast.
So, Coach, let me ask you. You've been around the game a long time. Over 40 years. Does it ever get old to you, or is it the same feeling you have every year as each season begins?
Oh, it's definitely the feel that's excited feeling that you're coming close to game time. And this month is because we started on August 12th. We've almost been going a month. Now that we're getting closer to the first game, I can feel those butterflies in my stomach, and I'll be prepared. Have we covered everything? So it's still the same as when I started in 1979. I still get really excited about the competition.
Right. And, Coach, let me ask you, I've asked many coaches this. How did the pandemic affect you personally and, just your senior players who didn't get that senior season? I mean, that was very unfortunate for them. So just talk to me about, how it affected everybody on a personal level.
Well, that was the first time I had coached high school football in the fall since 1979. So to say that it was my golf game got a little better, I grant you that. For my seniors last year, it was just absolutely devastating. You don't even know what to say to them. Like, what can you say? It's a once in a lifetime event that happened, and I really felt super bad for the athletes. The one good thing is 3 of them did receive Division II scholarships and are off the college now. So that was a plus, and we had a national signing day, and that went well. So that's the one good thing that happened, but not letting those guys have a senior year and to have that moment that they deserved was pretty hard to take.
Right. And, Coach, you stated how your first year began in 1979. I believe you were at Buckley for a little while too, correct?
Yeah, I was the assistant coach at Buckley for 23 years, and I'm in my 19th year now as the head coach at Hartford Public.
Right. And, Hartford Public has had such a successful program, since you've been there. I think between 2004 and 2010, you guys won the division almost every year during that time frame, correct?
Yeah, I think we won 7 division titles in like 9 years. Yeah, we really had it going on. That's when Hartford was a 3 high school town, and there were a lot more players available. Now that we broke down to 5 or 6 teams, it's a little watered down now as far as your numbers go and things like that.
Right. So, Coach, let me ask you, coming into this season, first off, I always ask this, the most important, position for the team to have a good season is obviously the quarterback. Who's going to take the snaps behind center this year for you guys?
Actually, we have 2 seniors that are going to split duties. Tasani Roach, who's our basic all-around player. I think he plays 5 or 6 positions. He's such a smart, athletic football player that we use him sort of everywhere. The other one is Jaheim Cole, who was the junior varsity quarterback when he was a sophomore. So they're both sort of splitting reps. They bring a lot of athleticism to the table, and they both have pretty good arms. So we feel fortunate that we have this 2-platoon system, and they're good friends. So there's not really much of a rivalry about who's playing and who's not. So I like our athleticism at quarterback for sure.
Right. And, Coach, how do you think you'll rotate them? Will it be every other series, every other quarter? How do you think you'll do it?
Yeah, we'll probably pretty much go every other series. We both feel like they throw the ball equally well. So there's not one guy that's going to go in there that'll be the running quarterback. The other guy will be the throwing quarterback. whoever's in there in whatever route that pass patterns we choose, that we feel comfortable with both guys throwing that ball. So we feel fortunate to be in that situation.
Right. And coach, both of them were unfortunate in the sense that they didn't get a season as juniors. That's usually where you start to get a little more varsity time. Sometimes you're on the field. Did either one of them get any varsity action as a sophomore?
Well, that's an excellent question. And here's what happened. In 2019, we were really, I think we had 22 kids on the team. We were really low in numbers. So I had to play 6 or 7 of those sophomores. Maybe they shouldn't have been playing or playing that much, but that's the situation I was in. So I have 6 or 7 seniors that literally played a full varsity season when they were sophomore, which is probably a huge advantage over a lot of teams, that they got that much experience as sophomores just out of necessity. And I think it's going to pay benefits this year, I'm hoping.
Right. And coach, who will be in the backfield this year? Because that's always been a big part of Hartford Public's success.
Well, we have Tasani Roach back there because he can play quarterback or running back or receiver. Right. And we have a young man that's a sophomore. His name is Eric Williams. He ran outdoor track in the spring and ran like an 11.06 100 meters, which is pretty quick, especially for a 9th grader. He's diminutive, but he has extremely explosive speed. I have some pretty big linemen, so when he's running that ball up the middle, I think they have a hard time seeing him. And then all of a sudden, he's in open space and he hits the jets, and he's pretty fast.
Right. And coach, you just mentioned the linemen. Do you have the linemen set? Like who's gonna, be your starting, guys up front, or are you still kind of working people in a little bit?
No, we definitely have the lineup set. I have Jose Rivera, who'll probably be, Jose Rodriguez, who'll probably be one of the captains. He played significantly his sophomore year. He's about 6'1" and about 250, benches 350.
Wow.
Yeah, extremely athletic and very coachable. He's going to be a dynamic player for us at center. Our right tackle is Chris Pineda, who played when he was a freshman.
Yeah.
Chris is 6'3", 315. And
wow.
He played his freshman year when he probably really shouldn't have, but he did gain a ton of experience doing that. Yeah. He's a hard worker, and actually he's the valedictorian, or the number one junior out of 240 juniors. He's ranked number 1 in the class. So
wow.
Awesome. We're looking at him as a possible, Ivy League sort of type player. Very smart, a lot more aggressive this year. And actually, our guard was this Marcus Rivera. He played a running back when he was a freshman on the team, but this year when he came back, he weighed 205 pounds, so he couldn't be a running back anymore. We have a lot of fast guys.
Yeah.
So I said, Marcus, why don't you try the line? I think you can start here because you're a junior, and we have a lot of sophomore linemen, but all those sophomores never played because we didn't have a freshman season last year. So he went to guard and looked really good because he's fast, and now he loves playing that offensive line. And now the other guard are probably a sophomore, Amir Cousins and Diego Gutierrez, who are sort of switching back and forth. So we feel fortunate that we have older kids on the offensive line, and as you know, we got a Valley guy up here coaching them, Ron Leno, who's just an on-fire, tremendous, energetic coach. They love him, and he's doing a great job with those guys. They're really responding to how he coaches, and our first couple of scrimmages, we look pretty good on the offensive line.
Right. And I've always said this, that every program should have a Ron Leno type coach because, he's a hard worker and, he's very intense, but at the same time, he loves the kids, and, the kids really do enjoy playing for him.
Yeah, he definitely loves the kids, and he's so knowledgeable. The fact that I was able to get a 30-year veteran coach on my staff, and even though I'm just borrowing him for a year from West Haven High School, because as you know, this is my last year. I'll be retiring at the end of this year from teaching and coaching. So the fact that he agreed to come and coach with me for my last year was just an awesome gift.
Right. And, speaking of coaches, who else is on your coaching staff? Because, in your 19 years as a head coach, you've had some outstanding assistant coaches, but who will be on the staff this year in your final season as head coach?
Juan Montanez is our defensive coordinator, and he is the only original coach left that started with me 19 years ago. So
Yeah.
he's the last of the Mohicans there. We have Courtney Jackson, who used to run the midget program in Hartford Wildcats. I asked him to come on as a defensive backs coach. His son was supposed to be our quarterback last year, but obviously didn't get his senior season. We have Dr. Michael Mushakakis is doing our outside linebackers. We have Corey Jur, who used to work for us, but is a special teams guru. He was with us then at Windsor, and now he's back with us. Jeremy Santana does the inside linebackers. And we have a volunteer coach who is a tremendous defensive line coach who's been with me for 10 years now, Eddie Church.
Oh, okay.
And we have a dynamic staff. That's when you have that many coaches out there who have great knowledge.
Right. So, Coach, talk to me a little bit about the defense, because that's always been, part of Hartford Public's success is their outstanding defense. Who is going to be the 11 guys on the defense for you this year?
Well, I mean, with only 27 guys on the team, and we have 15 of those young men are sophomores, and that sophomore class is going to be dynamic, and whoever gets to coach them in 2 years is going to be out of sight. They're a great group, but they don't have any football experience. So unfortunately, we're going to have to play many guys both ways. And what we're trying to do is get those sophomores up to speed. So, I can take Jose Rodriguez off the field for a couple plays on defense.
Yeah.
So he can get a drink of water, because he can't come out on offense. He's the center. He can't leave the field. So Tasani Roach is probably our most dynamic player. And Tasani plays outside linebacker, corner, strong safety. And he's just an all-around super aggressive player. And Jose is at the nose. When you bench 350 pounds, you can pretty much handle anybody you see in front of you. We have Chris Pineda at the end, and we have two senior linebackers, Latrell and Todd Miner, who have some experience in. Our safety is Triquan Hodge, who's also a receiver. Probably, I would honestly say, the most dynamic receiver in the state. He is 6'3", 180 pounds, with a stride that is probably 2.5 yards long, and he gets his legs over, and he has incredible vision. He is going to be a problem for a lot of teams this year. Defensively overall, we have great speed. We have many fast guys on defense. We feel like we can cover the sideline comfortable. Our little question is our middle linebackers, but they seem to be coming around now and reading their keys better. So we feel like the defense is very strong part of our team.
Right. And Coach, let me ask you, you mentioned this is your final season. Is are you getting that feeling every time you do something for the last time? Wow, this is the last time I'm doing this. Like that first week of conditioning week, did you say, wow, this would be is that starting to hit you yet at all, or you're really not thinking about it?
Well, that's sort of a running joke at our house that me, my wife and Brenda and I have, that if this is my last day, this is my first day before the first game. Like, so every day is like the last day of something.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that for 182 days. But yeah, I'm starting to realize this is my last preseason. I'm having my last preseason game tomorrow. It's definitely something that you start thinking about, that you're not going to be doing this in this capacity anymore. And at the high school that I've been to for 27 years, I mean, only coaching football for the last 19, but I've been a teacher at Hartford Public for 27 years. So yeah, there's a lot of, this is the first time things. Yes, absolutely.
Right. And Coach, let me ask you, I'm sure as a head coach you're finished, but is assistant as well? I mean, do you think you could come back in a year or two as an assistant, or is this it? You just want to go off into the sunset?
I think, I've been giving that a lot of thought, and there's going to be opportunities that arise. When I announced my retirement, I had about 7 or 8 head coaches text me, "You coming with me next year? Are you coming with me next year?" And I think
Yeah.
maybe my mindset now is to next fall not do anything, just sort
Yeah.
of see what comes, and then after one fall, we'll see how I feel, and then if I go somewhere, it will definitely be as an assistant and a position coach.
Yeah.
My specialty is defensive backs. So there's a lot of guys that I really love because, I was involved at the state level with the CIAC and the chair of the football committee for the CHSCA. And then through that process, I've gotten to meet so many coaches. And there's so many guys that I love and I would love to work with. And so, I mean, I'm not saying I'll have my choice, but I can pretty much go a lot of places.
Right. Because, coach, some of the guys I've talked to who, stepped away from coaching, the big thing is when the season started, you know, they were with it and they, were pumped up and stuff. But the season, it's a long season. It starts to get colder. And, that's what a lot of them have told me is they just can't stand being in the cold anymore for that, like last month of the season. Is that part of the reason, or do you just want to retire because you're retiring from teaching as well?
Well, yeah, sometimes when when I was 0-7 and I'm standing out there and it's 30 degrees, you're like, what am I doing? This is just
Yeah.
brutal. Yeah. And if you're having a good season, it's a little different view. But I think for me, you know, I get to work at 7 in the morning, and then after football practice, I get home about 7 at night. It's the
Yeah.
fact that spending 12 hours a day, 5 days a week, at Hartford Public High School is not something I really want to do anymore. I want to do some different things. The kids are great. I love the kids. That's what I'll miss the most, and of course the competition. But I just feel, at this point, after doing it for 42 years, that I'm ready to do something else. Yeah, and
Right.
that out there coaching in November is not a selling point to anybody.
Right. Coach, let me ask you this, because you've been around the game for 40, 2 years. There's been so many changes over the years to high school football. I mean, when you first started coaching, 2 teams played, in each class, 2 teams played for the championship. Then it expanded to 4. Now I believe it's up to 6 or, a
8.
couple years,
Yeah.
8. Yeah. So, I mean, it's really expanded and there's been a ton of changes. There's no more double sessions, triple sessions, stuff like that. So let me ask you, how have you been able to, kind of evolve as a coach and, kind of go with the change of times and stuff? Because I'm sure being an old school coach, it wasn't always easy to adapt to, how things are now.
Yeah. I was on the committee that revamped how much hitting time there should be during the week. As you know, we went through a spell a couple years ago about concussions and the game was dangerous. And I think we've had a decline in the number of athletes playing football in Connecticut for 8 or 9 straight years. And when we put that rule into place, how much hitting time that you need, and we took every coaches in the state's ideas and what they thought about it, and we pretty much came to a majority agreement that we could cut down our hitting time in practice, because our point there was to show the parents, look, we're concerned about your child, but we think football is a great game and worth playing, and because we know we can't keep going this downward trend. I know there's a lot of programs that are really down in numbers, running a program with 20, 21 kids, in some cases 18, 19 kids. I think the growth of co-op football is tells you all you need to know, that schools are the football pool is smaller, so now they're going to have to combine. And I think you're going to see a lot more schools go to that co-op program in order to have enough players to field the team. But I think the changes in the game have been positive.
Right.
We're trying to make the game safer. Hey, it's a rough physical game of, people say, oh, it's a contact game. It's a game of collisions. And
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is make the game safer, because we feel the benefits that you get out of this game, life benefits, are so huge that this game is worth altering in order for us to continue it.
Right. Coach, just talk to me about some of the, special. Obviously, every team you've coached is special, but you've had some great teams over the years. As we mentioned, you won like 7 straight league titles. I always look back on your 2014. That was a very underrated team. They made the playoffs. I think they lost to Woodland like 13-6. That was
Yeah.
a great team. Just talk to me about some of the great teams you coached. Is there any team that stands out more than the other?
Well, the first one that really stands out was the 1991 Buckley team. I was the offensive coordinator on that team, and we lost to Greenwich 22-14 in the final at Southern Connecticut. That's when only two teams made it. And why
Yeah.
that's special is, and you can look it up, is we were the first inner city high school to make a state championship game. So that always remains special to me, that an inner city school and with three high schools in the same town. If you look over the years of the playoffs, you will see. Look, when you remember Sheehan run it a couple years ago, the odds on a
Yeah.
two high school team town winning a state championship is less than 5%. If you look at all the champions in each class, it's always a one high school town.
Right.
So that was super special that we were the first inner city team to do it. That made a lot. The 2004-5 team had three future NFL players on it: the Joseph Twins, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, and Brian Sanford, who played 5 years in the league, 4 years with Cleveland, 1 year with the Raiders. That team was very special. That team was the best by far. I think maybe one of the best defenses ever in high school football. If I didn't put those JVs in early, we would have literally given up maybe 12 points the whole year.
Right.
And that team also had three Division I football players on it, in the Joseph Twins and Brian Sanford. There's a game against Hartford High. We knocked them out of the playoffs. We beat them in a royal battle, Buckley versus Hartford High, 2-0 on a safety. That game is still talked about throughout the entire city. I think beating South Windsor for a league championship on the last play of the game on a 2-point conversion was outstanding.
Right.
So there's a lot of great memories that I start thinking about now. I probably should have wrote them all down, because I don't know how many high school football games I coached, but probably over 500. But I think that 2004 team and that 91 Buckley team probably stand out as two of the special moments of my career.
Right. And Coach, what is the goal for you this year? Obviously, you want to try to win your league, maybe, make the playoffs and, win a state title. But being it's your last year and, you're going out, what is really the goal this year? I mean, are you treating this a little differently? Like, I just want to have fun in my last year, or what is your goal for Coach Bellucci?
I think I would love to end my career with a division title. I think playing for your division title is so important. I mean, sometimes if you want to make the playoffs, sometimes you can go 9-1 or 8-2. I think twice I went 8-2 and didn't make the playoffs. I finished ninth both times. I think because I was an L or double L, right? And you know that from being a sports guy, if you lose 2 games in double L or L, sometimes you're outside looking in. And that happened to me. That happened to me twice. So I think, obviously making the playoffs would just be great for the city of Hartford. The energy that it would bring to Hartford Public High School and the community would be awesome. But I always state the first goal, and the first goal I always say was winning a city championship, winning a league championship, and then trying to win a state championship. Well, the current state we're in is Weaver is now started their football program back up under the direction of the legendary Jude Kelly, who is the head coach there. And I don't even know if many people know that.
Wow.
So they're running a junior varsity program. They have about 22 sophomores and freshmen. So that's exciting that Weaver football is coming back. That's really important to me. Buckley now combined with Sports Science Academy.
Yeah.
And they play in the peak few games. So I'm pretty. Hello. Oh,
you're breaking up a little bit. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was just buffering, but I'm back now.
Okay. So, Coach, let me ask you too. As impressive as it's been that you've been a coach for 42 years, what's equally impressive is you've been a gym teacher for 38 years. So, I mean, just talk about that because I mean that's a long time in education, and I mean, being a gym teacher has got to be very rewarding as well. So, just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, the first thing probably needs some explanation. Well, how's he teaching for 38 years and coaching for 42? Well, I started coaching. I was a junior at Central, and I ran into my old coach, Pete Kokinis, and from Buckley, and he said, "Hey, I have an assistant freshman job open," and it paid like I don't know $1,400, which seemed like a fortune back in 1979. And I said, "I'll take the job." So I had 2 years left of school, and then when I got out of Hartford to have my degree out of Central, they had like a 2 year hiring freeze on. They didn't hire any teachers, and then as soon as they lifted it, I had a job. So there was a 4 year span. That's why you got 38, 42.
Right.
Yeah. You know what? I wouldn't change one thing at all, even with all the frustration and the sadness back with all the gang violence back in the '80s and actually losing students and that sort of thing. I just felt like growing up in Hartford and coming from a single parent family, that was the place where I was needed. And you know, my neighbor down the street, and I was describing me leaving this year, and he said, and he's a deacon in the Catholic Church, and he said, "Harry, what you're doing is a ministry. That's different work than when you coach in the suburbs. Those kids have everything they need. They have a great support system at home, and they want for nothing. Where I work, it's a different situation. Where uh, uh, kids need Hartford High football. We don't need them; they need us. And
Right.
you end up being a father, a mentor. The guy that's going to take them to visits to colleges, to talk to colleges, and most places decide where they should go. So
Yeah.
working in the inner city is a whole different ball of wax than working in the suburbs. That's for sure. And
I lost you again.
it's worth it.
Right. So, Coach, looking back on everything, I mean, this wonderful career and stuff like that, can you leave coaching, teaching, everything without, and I mean, because we always have small regrets, but I mean, can you leave it and be proud of what you accomplished and say, you know what, I did everything I wanted to do, no complaints, I'm happy?
I think that I'll be able to walk away from this game thinking that I worked hard for 42 years coaching this game. I never quit. I never cut corners. And I always gave my players the best opportunity to win a game. And I looked out for my players and I cared for my players. So when I walk away with no regrets. I mean, moving forward, I belong to board of directors on two charities in Hartford, Hartford PAL, and my family's foundation through my brother-in-law, Eric Mangini, CFM Foundation. And we do a ton of work for the schools, giving out mini grants to teachers. And PAL, we're starting sports programs over. So while I'll be retiring from teaching, I definitely won't stop helping Hartford kids because, that's my life.
Well, Coach, that's really remarkable, and I really do applaud you for that. First off, I congratulate you on, not only a great coaching career, but just a great career in general. And like you said, the things with mentoring the kids, being a father figure, to me, that's even more impressive than the coaching aspect of it. And I really do, you know, admire the work you've done, and I wish you nothing but the best going forward. Congratulations again on a great career.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me, Mike.
No problem. And again, best of luck to your team this season. We'll be rooting for you, and good luck having Ronnie all year. There's gonna be a lot of laughs.
That's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of laughs. I promise you that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that
Bye-bye.
was Coach Harry Bellucci, and I'm Mike Kenichi for the